Horror fans understand that sometimes years go by and the films just don't quite hit where they should. And you can kind of write off entire years for movies that just didn't offer you anything bed-wettingly scary. Thankfully, 2023 was not among that list. While the year itself was certainly bed-wettingly scary, within it were these movies containing such performances that will not be soon forgotten. With that in mind, I'm Sean Ferrick for What Culture Horror, and here are the 10 best horror movie performances of 2023. Number 10, Cassandra Nord as CW Influencer. A social media themed horror film might sound like an immediately dated concept, but Influencer, which was released on Shudder, was anything but. Influencer sees Emily Tennant star as Madison, and Influencer, get it, is the title of the film. On a vacation to Thailand to try and drum up some interest around her personal brand. Instead, she meets CW, a woman determined to steal her supposedly perfect life for herself. The cunning and remorseless CW is brought to life by Cassandra Nord in her major film debut, and she absolutely smashes it. She's extremely convincing as a dangerous stalker, elevating the character beyond the usual tropes and conveying a threatening menace each time she's on the screen. Number 9, Larry Fessenden as Clive Hochstadter, Brooklyn 45. A group of old friends and military buddies gather around their old commander's house for a seance, as you do, but plans to contact the superior officer's late partner go drastically wrong. I mean, of course they do. If they didn't, there would have been no movie. The man conducting the spiritual session is Lieutenant Colonel Clive Hochstadter, played by Larry Fessenden. Those in the know have been aware of Fessenden's talents for a while, but by putting him in such a prominent role, Gagan was able to showcase the character actor's skills to the fullest extent. He took on the challenging role of man failing to deal with grief, adding another layer to what could have otherwise been just another supernatural horror. Fessenden rounded off 2023 by appearing in Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, so not a bad year after all. Number 8, Sophie Wild as Mia, Talk to Me. Talk to Me is about a group of teens who discover the aforementioned appendage and its ability to contact spirits from the land of the dead. Unfortunately, it turns out that a mummified severed hand actually comes with a terrible curse. Who saw that one coming? One of the many things Talk to Me was praised for was introducing a larger audience to Sophie Wild, a young star who had been rising for some time but finally broke through with her feature film debut. Wild plays Mia, the lead character of the story who was haunted by the death of her mother some years earlier. Mia serves as the vessel through which the audience experiences the film's terror, with Wild doing an excellent job in guiding viewers along while conveying every single emotion of this multi-layered tale. Vulnerable enough to generate jeopardy but strong-willed enough to be cheered for, Mia is a classic horror protagonist through and through, and Wild deserves all the applause she's received. Number 7, Alyssa Sutherland as Ellie, Evil Dead Rise. When it was announced that the cult favourite Evil Dead franchise was making a comeback, some Evil Dead fans were rightly trepidatious, following the solid yet underwhelming 2013 remake. As it turned out, Evil Dead Rise was a rip-roaring return to form for the series, despite having very little to do with the original movie. This time, the story revolved around Beth, as well as her sister Ellie and her 3 children, who have to fight off a deadite uprising in their apartment block. While Lily Sullivan does a great job as the embattled Beth, Alyssa Sutherland steals the show as the demented entity that has taken over the body of her sister. Not only is she working with some deeply disturbing makeup and a stellar script, but Sutherland's physicality in the role brings it to life, which is highly ironic given the circumstances. Of course, without the human version of Ellie, audiences would have nothing to sympathise with when she turns. Luckily, Sutherland is able to create a likeable, three-dimensional character in the short time she has, which makes what comes next even more horrible. Number 6. Marin Ireland and Judy Reyes as Dr. Rose Casper and Celie Morales, Birth, Rebirth. Since the story of Laura Moss's Birth, Rebirth revolves so heavily around the dual lead characters of Rose and Celie, it felt only fair to include both of their actors on this list. Rose, played by Marin Ireland, is a doctor obsessed with reanimating corpses, while Celie, Judy Reyes, is a maternity nurse who works tirelessly to give women the best birth possible. When Celie's daughter dies, Rose brings her back to life, but at a terrible cost that her mother must pay. Word of warning to everyone out there, don't try this at home. Birth, Rebirth is a new spin on the Frankenstein narrative with a fantastic feminine twist, carried effortlessly by Ireland and Reyes. Ireland keeps the character of the death-obsessed doctor rooted in reality, while Reyes plays up that oh-so-familiar character of a mother desperate to do anything for her child. Together, they make the perfect team. Number 5. Amy Donald as Megan. One of the surprising horror hits of 2023 came right at the start of the year when the world was introduced to the diabolical dolly, Megan. After her parents are killed in a car crash, young Katie gets given a gift by her scientist aunt, a lifelike robot designed to comfort the grieving child. Although things start off quite peachy, it soon becomes clear that Megan will go to any lengths to protect her new friend. Rather than build a real murderous childbot, the team behind this film cast an actual actor to bring Megan to life in Amy Donald, a child actor and dancer from New Zealand, whose physicality brought a creepy realism to the character. She's firmly grasped what the role required, gifting us with perhaps the most iconic horror performance of the year. Number 4. Natalia Soan as Valeria, Huesera the Bone Woman. Pregnancy has often made for a compelling plot device in horrors. The high stakes, the vulnerability involved, the fact that babies themselves are a bit creepy. It all adds up. One recent addition to this fine tradition is Huesera the Bone Woman, a joint Mexican-Peruvian venture made by first-time feature director Michelle Garza-Severa. A woman named Valeria is delighted to discover that she is carrying her first child, but that joy quickly dissipates when she is cursed by a malicious spirit. To save her baby, her family, and herself, she must turn to dark magic, which may actually be worse for her than the curse. The job of portraying a pregnant woman close to the edge fell to Mexican star Natalia Solean. Solean does an incredible job of condensing an emotionally complex situation down into a digestible performance, drawing many comparisons to Mia Farrow's turn in Rosemary's Baby, which isn't bad going at all. Number 3. Joaquin Phoenix as Beau Wasserman, Beau is Afraid. The mind behind Hereditary and Midsommar returned in 2023 with this sprawling, mind-bending horror comedy starring Joaquin Phoenix as a man one step away from a nervous breakdown who must take a seemingly simple trip to attend his mother's funeral. Spoiler alert, it's not simple. Not simple at all. In a film where some truly bizarre and frightening things go on, none of it would mean anything were it not for Phoenix's masterfully grounded performance. He sells Beau's anxiety perfectly, never once straying into the realm of pantomime that he could so easily inhabit in such an over-the-top environment. He's just the right balance of a real in an otherwise surreal picture, and it really helps tie everything together. Also, he's in pretty much every scene of this 3-hour epic, which must have been exhausting. Phoenix was recognised for his efforts with a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor. Number 2. Caitlyn Dver as Brin, No One Will Save You. Joaquin Phoenix was in pretty much every scene of Beau is Afraid, but at least he was able to speak. Caitlyn Dver had no such safety net in Brian Duffield's No One Will Save You. Dver stars as Brin, a young woman living on the fringes of a nearby town with little to no connection to anyone living there. The positives of this arrangement are that she saves loads on Christmas presents, but the negatives make themselves very clear when aliens land and Brin is the only one who can stop them. As well as its high-concept premise, No One Will Save You also stands out for having just 5 words of dialogue. This means that a majority of the storytelling is done via physical acting, and the majority of that is done by Dver, the common thread in most of these scenes. Not an easy task then, but one that the book-smart star relishes and thrives on, captivating in a way that a spoken performance could only dream of. This is an astonishing feat of performance from someone still so fresh in their career. Number 1. Mia Goth as Gabby Bauer, Infinity Pool. In 2022, Mia Goth truly broke through with her roles in X and its sequel, or prequel, Pearl, exhibiting her vast talent with a varied and deep performance. Goth followed this beloved turn by appearing in Brandon Cronenberg's sci-fi horror Infinity Pool. How did she do? Well, she's top of this list, so that should be a pretty good indication of just how good she was. Goth plays Gabby Bauer, a fan of Alexander Skarsgård's novelist character. At first, it seems like Gabby is your standard stalker, intruding on her target's married life, but as the dark secrets of the island getaway they are inhabiting reveal themselves, she too takes a more terrifying turn. Anyone who has seen Goth before will know how magnetic she is, but her turn in Infinity Pool is on a whole other level. She can flip between normal and deranged at the snap of her fingers, constantly keeping viewers on their toes as to what she's going to do next and just how far she'll go to achieve her goals. An outstanding performance from a rising horror force, Infinity Pool is worth watching for Goth alone.